Susan Gardner here for Municipal World. We're at the 2019 AMO conference in Ottawa, Ontario. And joining me in the Municipal World Media Center is AMO Executive Director Pat Vanini. Welcome, Pat.
Thanks, Susan. It's good to be here.
So it's been a great conference so far. We're kind of at the midway point. And I wanted to have you in to chat about a few things. One of them is we were pleased to recognize you with an award for being a woman of influence in local government.
I'm thrilled. I was a little flabbergasted, but definitely thrilled and very honored. And thank you so much.
And you're a very deserving individual, very deserving woman. So we were excited to celebrate you today. I want to talk a little bit about women in local government. You've been doing this for a while now. You've been involved in local government.
Thank you for not mentioning the years.
I won't mention yours if you don't mention mine.
I
won't. So you've had kind of a chance to observe, changes over the years, I would think, and can give a little bit of perspective. How has the experience of women in local government transformed, changed? Has it?
Yes, it has. I've been, because I'm retiring, it's a moment to do even more reflection, particularly if the memory works. And when I first joined municipal government, I was out of school. I'd only graduated and really had a month off. I wasn't like those kids that graduated and got to trip across Europe, and landed my first job. And my first employer was hugely motivating for me. A real coach and a real mentor. I mentioned before, he was a little bit of a mad Irishman, which I think actually helped me settle in. But he just let me soar. And I think that first employer made a huge difference for me. There weren't many women professionals at that point in the county. There were women, but not professionals. And I think, in retrospect, I think he realized how important that was himself. And then when I moved to the province, I worked with a lot of women, but most of them never rose beyond the director level. And now, I'm dealing with women that are deputy ministers and have been for a while. And that's nice to see. And then over at AMO, it's a pretty diverse employer. I'm not the first female executive director. Apparently I'm the longest serving. Not too sure what that says. But we have a board in our lobby that lists all the presidents of the association. And it's really quite heartening to go back, really back to the 40s and the 50s, and you actually see some presidents of the association that were females. So I think for municipal government, it's been a good evolution. I think people will comment there should be more women, and we just have to keep working on that. And I hope I can do something around that after I retire, even if it's just cheering from the sidelines.
Okay, well, we're going to watch to see what that is, Pat. So what other kinds of changes have you seen? You mentioned you're retiring, so if we didn't acknowledge that now, we'd kind of be remiss. What other kinds of changes have you seen over the years?
Well, for municipal government, I think in many ways they're being seen as a mature order of government. They should. They've been around for a long time. But I think part of that maturity is really around what they do every day. And I look back, as I said, when I joined the workforce in the 70s, and what municipal governments are doing now, both as services and program delivery. But we were remarking the other day that you got to even understand the electricity system, because if you don't have electricity, and growth needs electricity, so the intricacies and the knowledge for municipal government has just grown exponentially. And I think that's one of the really strong roles that provincial territorial associations across the province and the National Association, FCM, plays is to keep feeding that, staying on top of emerging issues, doing research to help. Some of that work today in the local economies demonstrates what an association can do that looks at things broader, but also from the bottom up. So I think over time, I've seen municipal governments they've grown. Their interest has grown. The integration of services, not just within a municipal government, but amongst other parts of the public sector. And that's grown. Someone said, is that a sign of sophistication? I think it's a sign of need.
Yeah.
And I think that's where municipal councils really do shine. You can talk, well, you've talked to many, you know their phones are always on even when they're off, and you know, if someone needs something, they work hard to try to fix it. If they don't have the authority themselves, you know, they'll work to figure it out.
By and large, most people come to local government because they care about their community and they really truly want to make a difference.
Well, it's interesting, and one of the things that I've observed that's changed is the number of former federal MPs and provincial MPPs
Yes.
who've decided, for whatever reason, to get back into municipal government. When you talk to them, it's a whole different dynamic. And I think it's a dynamic that sort of really feeds that sense of public service.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there a sense, do you think, that councillors need to know more, need to have more technical sort of information now than perhaps in the past, or where is that line for?
My observation, Susan, is when that download happened in the late 90s, and that meant ambulance service moved from the province to municipal governments. Municipal governments were somewhat in public health, but it became more. They became much more heavily involved in not just Ontario Works, which was, you know, the sort of the reframing of the welfare system, but they also delivered Ontario Disability Support Program, Ontario Drug Benefit Program. And I think from that, I remember that AMO conference because our numbers soared then. We grew by about 400 attendees. And I remember someone from the province saying, what happened? Because it was also during the time of the amalgamations, and I think it was even called the Fewer Politicians Act.
Yes.
But my comment was, you've transferred all these services. You got to know something to be the service delivery person, so they're here to learn. And I think that's, to me, was a bit of a waterfall moment to sort of say, when you change service delivery, people have to know that because they're going to be held accountable. We also saw coming out of the Walkerton inquiry, you know, councils are liable now for water quality. So how all that has translated into the role and responsibilities of municipal government means you can't slide through it. You just can't slide through. You need to know things. You have to read your council packages. You have to understand things. So I think the role of councillors and the role of municipal governments, it's just growing. And I think it's grown for a number of reasons, as you said, legislation and programs, but I also think it's citizens looking for leadership. And I sort of coined the phrase a while ago, every member of council is a leader, and a council is just the leader of leaders. And I think that's what communities see in their councils.
And there's such an abundance of information, too, that people in the community can access online if their leaders aren't seen to be aware of the details of what they're responsible for.
The internet's forcing a lot of us to look at things.
Right?
It also means you've got to think about what you're looking at
Yes.
and reading. And I think that's where the administrative side of municipal governments and how they interact and support their councils and doing that kind of research. You saw Stephen's work for Peel Region on the local economy and some of the drivers. That's more typical, I think, than atypical of municipal governments. And that's one role, quite frankly, if I can put another plug in for AMO, is the research that we do. Not all municipal governments have a lot of staff, as you know.
That's
in
right.
Ontario, almost 46% have, they don't have a large number of staff. So how do they function and operate? And that's part of the service we provide with the research we do and the policy development responses that we do, and spending all our time at Queen's Park.
Do you think that at the community level, at the citizen level, there could be a benefit for maybe greater understanding of what municipal associations, the value that municipal associations deliver membership in those, and what that does for communities?
Probably. I think one of the observations, as you probably heard me say before, municipal governments, because they are our members, we work for them, they do continuous improvement. And that's why I'm so happy with the portal that we're working on, and because it's just going to make things so much easier. And we did something like this before, and it worked magnificently. We lost the funding, and now we have a partner, and that's great.
And we're delighted to be the partner.
But I do think that, as an observation, even the PJ Marshall Awards, when those submissions come in, I go, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. And so I've talked to them, and I said, councils know, staff know, there may be some citizens group know, but not everyone knows. So that's why we want to do this municipal bragging piece, because they just do. And not often do people thank them for the things that they do. And so they have a right to brag, they have a right to demonstrate all the innovation and efficiencies that they're doing. And rest assured, part of the objective of that is make sure Queen's Park understands it a bit more, and certainly the federal government. So I'm really pleased that some of the municipal governments early on, we had this idea just a couple of weeks before the conference, sent some information in, but we're going to keep doing that. And maybe that's a sidebar also on the portal.
Fantastic. I want to congratulate you on your wonderful career and the great work that you've done at AMO, and of course, again, reiterate how pleased we are to give you the award.
I have to say, Municipal World was a good portion of that. In my early days, I'm thinking, what's going on? I'm a planner by profession, and I read Municipal World religiously, and I still do. And I like your little push-outs every day. It keeps me sharp, and I know what's going on. And so I thank you and your team for all the efforts and how you've evolved, but you haven't lost that connection, and that's truly valuable. And this is so sweet. I really do thank you for this. I know exactly where I'm going to put it in my den. So thank you very much, Susan.
Thank you. I'm Susan Gardner for Municipal World, here with Pat Vanini at AMO. We share your stories.